Hi there! In this video we're going to talk about transforming the function y equals x. So what does that mean? So the line y equals x is a straight line, and we've learned it like y equals mx plus b is the equation of a straight line. So we're going to be taking this line, this basic line right here, y equals x, or we also learned function notation, f of x equals x. And we're either going to add or multiply numbers to the x to make it look like y equals mx plus b, to move, or what we call in math, to transform the equation of the line. So what we're first going to look at is what we call the parent function. So the parent function is the basic function, the most basic function of any family of functions. So the family of functions that we're talking about today are lines. So, and like we said, we know that lines look like y equals mx plus b, so we want to investigate what happens when I have an m that's not a 1, and what happens when I have a b that in this case is not a 0. How does that change my line? So the easiest way for you to kind of make some hypotheses about what's going to happen, and then we can draw some conclusions together, is to use a graphing calculator so that we don't spend all of our time doing our graphing. So I've downloaded this Desmos app right here, which is giving you an online graphing calculator. They also have one that says scientific, which is an excellent one for you to use if you don't want to use your phone calculator. But I'm going to click on this one right here, and you'll notice I've typed in a bunch of equations for lines. And so we're going to look and kind of see what happens when I change my slopes and when I change my y-intercepts, and see what it does to the lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn on my first, my lines 2, 3, and 4, my equations f of x equals x plus 1, turning it on. I want you to pay attention when I turn these on to what happens to my graphs. What happens to my parent function, or the red line? Compare each one to the red line. I have a green line, y equals x plus 3, or f of x equals x plus 3. And I have an orange one. How do they compare to the red one? So we're going to take a photo of this, and we're going to bring it back into our notes here. Add it in, and we're going to make some notes on it. So I'm going to kind of crop it a little bit just so that we can figure out what we have going on. I'm not going to put it on any side, and we're just going to kind of make some conclusions. So I'm going to zoom this way in so we can kind of see what's going on here. So if I'm looking, whoops, let's move this over a little bit. Okay, so I'm looking at my red line here. I notice that it goes through the origin, and I'm going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1 for my slope. If I look at my blue line, it doesn't start at the origin, but my slope, I'm still going up 1 over 1. Did my slope change? No, it stayed the same. What about this green one? I didn't start at the same point. It started at a different point, but I'm still going up 1 over 1 to get the next points on my line. And same with the orange guy. I know I cut it off a little bit, but he starts down here, and I'm going up 1 over 1. So what can you tell me about this value right here that that highlighted all of it. This value right here that I changed, is that my slope or is that my y-intercept? I changed my y-intercept, my b value. So when I change my b value, you'll notice that your lines are what we call parallel, lines that never intersect. So my slopes stay the same, but I have different y-intercepts. That occurs when I add a b value that is not equal to 0. So, like you see, y equals x plus 1, which I had, or y equals x plus 3. And again, that's the same thing as f of x. Remember, f of x and y are interchangeable. Okay, let's look at the other graphs that I have turned on my graphing calculator, and kind of just, we're going to notice what happens. Obviously, the only choice left is different slopes, same y-intercept, but let's see what that looks like and see if we can draw some conclusions. So I come back over here, I'm going to turn off these guys. And I want you to, again, pay attention to when I turn on these graphs. I'm going to start with line 5, f of x equals 2x. What happens to my slopes? Or what happens to the graph compared to the parent function? What happened here? What happened here? F of x equals negative 3x. What happened here? How is my slope changing? So we're going to take a picture and kind of analyze this a little bit more so we can draw on it. Come back in here, add my photo. This guy. Okay, so we're going to move him over here. Crop him a little so I have some more room to write. Okay, and we'll zoom in over here. So now, how did these change? If I'm looking here, I have y is equal to 2x or f of x equals 2x. So this is my purple guy. It starts here, but now I'm going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1 to get the next point. What changed? My slope. What about this one? Line 6, this blue guy, this one says y equals or f of x equals negative 3x. So I'm here. Now, because I'm negative, I have to go down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. Which one's steeper, by the way? Which one has a steeper slope? You don't have to worry about, obviously one is positive and one is negative, but what can you tell me about the steepness of the slopes? Let's pay attention to the last one here, this black line, f of x equals 1/2 x. That means I'm going to start here at the origin, I'm going to go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. What can you tell me about the steepness of the slope versus the number that's out in front for the slope? Is it the bigger the number, the steeper the slope, or the smaller the number, the steeper the slope? Oops. Come on. There we go. It's the bigger the number, the steeper the slope. So let's write that down. So when I have an m value that's not equal to 1, remember m is the slope. The bigger the number, the steeper the slope. Only catch is, sometimes it can be negative. If you have a negative, remember, a negative slope goes down like this, and a positive slope goes up this way. Remember, you read a graph from left to right, so you're either going to slide down the hill or climb up, depending on if you have a negative or positive slope. Regardless, if I'm only changing these values here out in front, the ones next to my x, it changes my slope, but my y-intercept is always at the origin. So that's how you can tell what the m and the b value does. The b value moves my line up and down, and my m changes the steepness of my line. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.